Welcome to the Podkey summary of what's new in SwiftUI from WWDC 2026. A lot of this week's SwiftUI and Xcode news comes down to one theme: less friction. Apple's smoothing out app polish with the new liquid glass look, making window resizing and toolbar behavior easier to manage, and giving document-based apps some genuinely useful quality-of-life upgrades. There are also a few under-the-hood changes that matter more than they sound at first, especially around image caching, state initialization, compile times, and the new Xcode agent skills. The new liquid glass design system is one of those updates where developers may not have to do much, but users will still notice it. On iOS, iPadOS, and macOS, an app can automatically pick up this new appearance without code changes, with that more refined, tint-adjustable look built in. That's especially nice, because it lowers the cost of looking current. You don't have to stop everything and redesign your whole app just to avoid feeling visually out of step. On the Mac, Apple's also tightening up interaction details. Elements marked as interactive respond more fluidly to mouse clicks, and inactive windows dim icons and texts, so focus is clearer at a glance. It sounds small, but this is the kind of thing that makes an app feel cared for instead of vaguely dusty. Xcode 27's live previews now have resize handles, which is a very practical upgrade. Developers can drag a preview and instantly see how a layout responds, as a window changes size on iPhone, iPad, and Mac. That matters because resizing bugs are often obvious the second you see them, but weirdly easy to miss if you're only testing a few fixed sizes. There is one important adjustment if you're mixing UIKit and SwiftUI. Instead of relying on device idioms for sizing decisions, developers need to move towards size class checks so the UI responds correctly as geometry changes during a resize. In plain English, the old assumption that a device has one stable shape keeps breaking down, and the tooling is catching up to that reality. Apple's also giving toolbars a little more common sense. A new visibility priority modifier lets developers tag important items like undo or redo as high priority so they stay visible when space gets tight. Less important actions can drop in the toolbar overflow menu instead of cluttering the top bar or disappearing unpredictably. And top bar pin trailing makes sure a critical button like share stays put and doesn't get shoved out of sight. This is one of those APIs that feels very humble, but if you've ever hunted through a crowded toolbar for the one button you actually needed, it earns its keep. Document-based apps got some nice attention too. With Document Creation Source, an app can offer multiple ways to start a new document, like a blank page or a photo picker, and SwiftUI passes that choice straight into the document initializer. The example here is a sticker app that can open a new document with the photo picker already on screen. So instead of tapping New and then tapping again to import a photo, it becomes one step. That's not dramatic, but it's exactly the kind of tiny workflow improvement people feel immediately. There's also a more technical document update that should make apps feel faster behind the scenes. Writable Document now leans on a snapshot struct that captures the full state of the document. The app can compare the current snapshot with the previous one and write only the parts that changed, which cuts down disk I/O. The write path is non-isolated and asynchronous too, so heavy file work can happen on a background thread while the UI stays responsive. For people using document-based apps, this is the kind of feature you mostly experience as less beach ball, less waiting, less wondering if the app is mad at you. Apple also made the document pipeline more flexible for output formats. If a writer adds extra content types like PNG, the same document writer can export both the app's native package format and a flat image file. It checks the requested content type at runtime, which means developers can extend to future formats without rebuilding the whole writing system from scratch. SwiftUI's new Reordering modifier is a nice cleanup for lists and grids. The same API now works across list and lazy-V grid, so developers can support drag reordering without writing separate logic for each container type. And it's now available on watchOS too, which is kind of fun because the smallest screen is finally joining the drag to reorder party. That broader consistency matters. It means less special case code for developers and more predictable behavior across Apple's platforms. AsyncImage also got a really welcome upgrade. It now respects normal HTTP cache headers automatically. So when images come from the web, they can stay in memory and appear instantly when you scroll back to them. If you've ever watched a feed keep reloading the same images like it has no memory of the last 5 seconds, this is a meaningful fix. Developers can still customize things by providing a custom URL request or a URL session with a tailored URL cache through the AsyncImage URL session modifier. So the default gets better, and the escape hatch is still there for apps with more specialized needs. A couple of lower-level changes are worth knowing because they'll affect real projects pretty quickly. State has been turned into a macro, and one result is that class instances stored in @state are now lazy. They're created only once, even if the view itself gets recreated multiple times. That's good, but it can break code that sets a default value and then assigns again in init. The extra default assignment now needs to go. Apple also unified a bunch of view builder types under Content Builder. Instead of separate builder paths like Section Builder and Group Builder, there's now a single initializer path, which cuts down type checking overhead a lot. That should help compile times. And honestly, anything that reduces the amount of time developers spend staring at Xcode while it thinks deep thoughts is welcome. Content Builder works on all deployment targets too, and it looks like part of a bigger move toward unifying builder behavior across SwiftUI. Then there's Xcode 27's new SwiftUI agent skills. Things like SwiftUI Specialist and What's New in SwiftUI can be called from the coding assistant to help with best practices and API migration. And those skills can be exported as Markdown with Xcrun Agent Skills Export, which makes them easier to fold into custom workflows or internal docs. That's a pretty practical bridge between Apple's guidance and the way teams actually work. Overall, this is a very Apple platform kind of update cycle. Some visible polish, some workflow cleanup, and a bunch of quiet infrastructure improvements that should pay off over time. And honestly, the best feature in any developer tool might still be the one that saves a tap, saves a second, or saves you from debugging a toolbar at midnight. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.